So Elden Ring boss rush mode, I don't know what that's gonna do. Like, I guess it'd be interesting, but to me, it's just not like something I want to do. So
Elden Ring leak. I don't know if this is true or not. We're going to find out. Here we go.
Alright, what's going on, guys?
Hi.
You've probably seen the title and thumbnail of this video by now, and we're going to be talking about a potential boss rush mode coming to Elden Ring. Now, the way
I feel like they're going to for sure do this. They already did it with Sekiro.
I'm going to approach talking about
I mean, it
this
makes sense
is gonna
to
be a
add
bit
it.
different than what
It's
you're
just not
used to
something
from
I'm
my
interested in.
videos. And the reason for that is that this isn't really speculation, although the later half of this video will be mostly speculation, but we are dealing with legitimate insider info, and I want to be careful about how I approach this. So let me get a few things out of the way to start. Number one, this was not leaked to me. I do not have connections to any insiders at the moment, and have not for a while. I have seen everything I'm going to be telling you guys floating around in the public, so as far as I'm concerned, it's fair game now. But I can say that—
Yeah, I think that, like, I mean, here's my perspective, is that, like, leaks are not super cool, and I wish that we never had leaks. I think leaks are really disappointing for the people
an overall
that
negative.
create
Like,
the
there's
content
really
to,
rarely
have it
ever
leaked without
positives.
them, being able to be ready for it. It sucks. But, like, once a leak gets out and everybody's talking about it, you can't just pretend like it's not happening.
Yep.
what we're going to be talking about is real, and I did a lot of digging, and it all checks out. But before you start getting excited, there's a lot of context that's going to go around with this. So I really encourage you to watch the entire video all the way through,
It's 8
so that
minutes.
you don't misunderstand and spread information
Come
that
on,
may not
of
be
course
true.
we can
That
do
being
that.
said, though, let me go ahead and tell you what's been going on.
Honestly, with boss rush mode, I can't even speak. With boss rush mode, like, I'm really just waiting for like people to make content on it, like to watch people do it. It's just like, I doubt I'll do it. I may try it. I just don't like boss rush modes, like in any game I've ever played. So
we recently had the first DLC update for Elden Ring, and it is important to specify that this was considered DLC. In the internal file names, it was specified DLC 01.
Yeah, okay, that's good. So there's going to be at least 10, because there's 2 digits. I like that. 10 DLCs for Elden Ring, guys. It just got confirmed right now.
And was even marketed in certain ads as a DLC. Now, the reason that's important to know is that according to a lot of rumors and leaks that have been going around, this Coliseum update was only a fraction of what the actual DLC was supposed to be. You guys might remember a lot of the videos
I think it was very smart for them not to release all of the DLC at the same time. That way people can do the Coliseum and play through all of that, and then come back and then get excited for the game again whenever they bring out the actual new content. And I do think that the Coliseums are fundamentally new content. They're new areas, new ways of playing the game. It is fundamentally DLC.
it is, but it's also like DLC very specific on a part of the game that if you like it, great for you. If you're not big on it, well, there might as well not be DLC. And I think that's one of the problems with like the Coliseum updates. For someone who's like me, who's like, I wasn't really into the PvP, so it's like, well, okay, there's PvP DLC. Guess there's technically no DLC. So
sure. In the same way that like RBGs are new content for World of Warcraft, like back in Cataclysm, I would say so.
Yeah.
I'm
not saying it's a bad thing. Like, to me, any content's better than none. Like, if you want to add PvP stuff, even though I personally don't do it, like, I don't really have any problem with it. Because it shouldn't just be about me. Like, I get it. There's people who really like PvP in Dark Souls. So it makes sense that there is going to be DLC about it.
Came out of data mining from patch 1.07, such as the new maps, the new legacy dungeon map, parameters of up to 30 new bosses, and sections of many new weapon types.
30 new
According
bosses?
to info, some of that
That's
was
pretty
supposed
crazy.
to come with this first DLC as well.
What
I'm
the
not sure
fuck?
exactly how much, but there was definitely more that was planned. However, as we can see, that didn't happen. But there's another detail in that rumor, that it may have included a boss rush mode originally, and the only reason I say may—
I think people would really like that. I think with Sekiro, the boss rush was pretty much universally well received.
there is
Because like a lot of people, they like Elden Ring's gameplay.
I actually thought about it a little more with the boss rush. I actually would play it if just to try out different builds against bosses and stuff. Like, I think that part would be really cool. Like, if they made it where you can basically respec, I guess, in a way, like do your character and make different builds much easier to do for the boss rush. At least that's, if they could do that, then I would definitely play it just because I like messing around with the builds. But outside of that, I don't know if I'd be that much into it.
But they don't like the open-ended nature of the game versus, like, let's say Dark Souls, where you go from boss to boss to boss. You know, it's much more constrained.
Because I'm working off hearsay. From what I gathered, a boss rush mode was almost definitely in development at one point. However, we don't know the outcome of that. And I'll elaborate more in a second. But for those
I
went in too early.
Those of you that aren't familiar with what a boss rush mode is, this is a section of the game that allows you to re-challenge all the bosses you fought along your journey after you've beaten the game without having to completely restart. As it stands,
I mean, boss rushes have been in games for a long time. They were a lot more popular back on, I think, PlayStation.
And right now, the only way to do that is through co-op, but this would give you the means to do it solo. This is something that fans have been asking for in Elden Ring for quite a while, and given that many of the bosses grant you a remembrance, that could definitely make this work lore-wise. Now, you may also remember that Sekiro received the boss rush mode after winning Game of the Year. And
bro, this boss was such a dick sucker. God, I just like, oh fuck, it was so bad. Oh god, it was so fucking bad. I love this boss. Yeah, I killed him. I didn't run him off the edge. I killed this motherfucker, and it was hard.
Yeah.
In this mode, you could visit a sculptor's idol and do what is called a reflection of strength. You could challenge each boss individually, but you also had the option to go down certain lines and run a specified gauntlet of bosses with a specific reward for beating all of them without dying. Now, Sekiro's boss rush was the only update we got for the game, adding new features, and that notoriously this game did not receive DLC. But Elden Ring is a different story. According to every single talk I've been hearing,
yeah, I think it's one of the only FromSoft game that didn't really receive DLC.
Through the grapevine, DLC is in production at From Software.
It might have been because it's like the least friendly to casual play. I'm not sure though.
And as it seems,
I think that DLC for Elden Ring is a guarantee. Of course we're gonna have DLC for the game. The game was massively fucking popular. The publishers are gonna push them to do it. Obviously, there's like, because here's the thing, is like with Elden Ring, I bet there was probably 3 or 4 different zones that were planned that just didn't make it into the game. Because that's what's happened with every other game, is there's always been cut content.
According to this rumor, has been for quite a while. Because in the talks about the boss rush, it seems like this may have been the original purpose of the Colosseums. As we know, the Colosseums that we have as of right now are very bare bones in comparison to what we had in the past. We don't have multiple maps, we don't have leaderboards, and we don't have rewards for doing it. And even though I do absolutely love the Colosseum update and I've been having a blast with it, I can definitely see that there may have been some shaky development going on due to the overall feeling of them being a bit incomplete. And if that part of the rumor is true,
I didn't really play the Colosseum update, I'll be honest. Like, I saw it was like mainly PvP, and I was like, not really something I'm gonna play. Just because I've always thought like Elden Ring PvP has always been kind of sucky for PvP. I mean, it's interesting, don't get me wrong, but it's like, it's too much lag. It just isn't a fun experience.
That at one point the boss rush may have also gone into the Colosseum. I can definitely see the potential there. Now before we
I think that a boss rush should be at the boss's like location personally, because it's like whenever you're fighting, I don't know, Fire Giant. I don't know. I feel like fighting the Fire Giant inside the Colosseum. I don't know about that one.
Start going off the rails on speculation and trying to figure out exactly what this is going to be like and when it's going to come.
That, or maybe have like a Colosseum where the Colosseum kind of changes depending on the boss. Like the Fire Giant, maybe it's like all snowy and stuff and a bit bigger because obviously he's a much bigger boss. So I think that would make more sense.
Let me levy expectations a little bit. From the info I could gather in my investigation, it doesn't seem like this was ever confirmed, only that it was in development, and was ultimately either delayed or scrapped in favor of what we have now. I've also confirmed with data miners that there's no evidence of a boss rush mode in the files at all, so I think we have an equal chance here that it could come in DLC 2 or it was scrapped entirely.
I think you also have to keep in mind, what I remember about the Sekiro boss rush is it came way, way, way later. It didn't come out like 6 months after the game. I feel like it came out over a year after.
I didn't even hear about that, to be honest, with Sekiro.
I also do find it kind of strange that this is coming out now, because I do remember an interview a while back where they had stated that they had no plans for a boss rush mode. But of course that could have changed literally any day after that interview. But as we know, over the past few weeks, From Software has stated multiple times that they have much more planned for Elden Ring, and that we also have news that's supposed to come out any day now. So for us on the outside looking in, it definitely looks like this could be something that's coming. Although let me specify again, there may be an equal chance that it was cancelled in development, perhaps in favor of the PvP modes. So let's talk about that.
I highly doubt that they canceled it because of the PvP modes. If
they
I
may
had
delayed
to guess, I bet doing a boss rush mode is probably not that hard to do. Like, especially like if you compare, like, I don't know, what takes more time, making an entirely new zone or doing a boss rush of old dungeons?
That, and it's kind of obvious because it's like, I think even modders would be able to get a boss rush out fairly soon.
Or old bosses. Like, I mean, come on.
If this does happen,
maybe I'm wrong about this, but I don't think
to judge what a boss rush mode might look like in Elden Ring, I think Sekiro is a good metric to go off of. They could definitely make it work based off the remembrances of being able to reflect on that strength. The only problem—
that's what they did in a lot of the Dark Souls mods, is that you would get an item from the different bosses after you killed them, and then using that item would allow you to fight them again. It would like reset the fight, kind of.
The problem is, there's a lot of bosses in the game that don't have remembrances. Although the argument could definitely be made that you fight them enough throughout the game that you don't need to have the option to replay it. And considering the vast amount of mini bosses, I really don't think they would all make the cut. However, we currently have 15 remembrances in the game, and we don't know how many DLC is going to add. I don't think that's a bad number by any means. However, there's a lot of fights in this game that have repeat bosses, but in unique situations, such as—
such as 2 Crucible Knights, wow, and such as 2 fucking robot Sphinx dick suckers.
Or 2 Gorgors.
The Godskin duo, the different types of dragons, and the Crucible Knights. I think many of those would belong in a boss rush mode, so I'm not exactly sure how they would go about it in terms of the numbers. But if this was originally planned to go in the Colosseum, I'm not exactly sure how that would have worked, because we have a lot of bosses that are specifically tied to their arenas. Bosses like Rykard, Radahn, and Malekith all make full use of the location you fight them in. So
I think Malekith is actually like Malekith would probably work inside the Colosseum. It would be scuffed, but the other 2, you're definitely right.
I mean, his boss room is basically the Colosseum.
That presents a problem in that regard. Although I imagine that if we were getting a boss rush mode in this game, you would just be refighting them in their respective arena. But one thing that Sekiro did that, if this is true, has me very excited, is that we got new versions of some bosses. Genichiro, Ishin, and Owl all had revamped movesets.
Weren't that was like the inner Owl and inner Ishin? Is that right? I never really played the boss rush for Sekiro, but I watched like 4 or 5 videos of different people playing through it. And they're like a little bit harder.
That put a completely new spin on their fight. And we have some prime candidates in Elden Ring that, if they made an upgrade for them, would present a whole new challenge.
I think it would also be cool if they like added like a whole new boss, if you were able to like beat every boss in boss rush mode. Like there's like a secret boss that gets unlocked at the end. I think that would be pretty cool.
Imagine if Malenia had an upgraded moveset.
That would make me actually want to go through it and like beat every single boss.
Final boss.
Also, like have leaderboards for like clear times. Of course, I mean, you might get people who are like cheating, like and hack the game to get like crazy ones, but that, or have it where they have like maybe a star system or like a bronze, silver, gold system where similar to like Dragonflight's flying, where if you do it under a certain time limit, you get like a bronze star or whatever it is. I think that would be pretty cool. Like that way you can work on like getting gold on everything or whatever color they want to use.
In one of the gauntlets. That would be such a good addition to the game for those of you that want a higher challenge. But if the boss rush is something that they're still planning to do, when can we expect it? My personal hunch would be along with the first major DLC. I'm not talking about the Colosseum update, even though that was DLC. I mean the first fully fledged paid story expansion that— we're
talking about like a Dark Souls 2 DLC. Super Waterfowl Dance. I feel like Melania is a gimmick boss. I think people vastly overstate her difficulty. I think if you look at people that are fighting that boss, 80 to 90% of their deaths
It's like
come
RNG.
from waterfowl, or the waterfowl dance puts them in a position to die to the next ability. If you took that ability out of the game, out of the fight, this boss would probably be no harder than, like, Radon.
Adds new areas, new bosses, new weapons, and new enemies. And the reason for that...
The characters, I think, the bosses that I think they should do...
Why is it scroll? Yeah, because I like solo or one-shot Melania. And I'm like, that wasn't even that hard. And then I looked up videos, that she didn't use like the abilities he's talking about. So I just got lucky. In a way.
Upgraded moveset for is Radon. I think Morgott. Because I don't know about you guys, but I felt like by the time that I got to Morgott, the fight was a fucking joke. It wasn't hard at all. So I'd want to see like an upgraded version of that, a much harder version of that that's like way more challenging. You were over leveled. Well, I think that the game...
Yeah, the game places him in a place where it is hard to run into Morgott early on in the game, where he would make more sense. So he is like too easy for where he's placed, in terms of the pacing of the game, at least I think.
Game, if you play through the game without rushing through the story mode, you will naturally be in that position. Yeah, he didn't deal enough damage, needed more. Yeah, I think he needs more health and damage. I think also, like having, like, it would be really, really cool if they gave the phase 2 of Godfrey, the Hoaraloo phase, they gave him like a totally new moveset and like a bunch of new abilities. Yeah. That would be awesome.
Because he does change a little, I think, in the like a different phase, but not enough.
Those would almost definitely be part of the boss rush.
Yeah,
but as to when I think that itself is going to come out, I think April is a good time. I mentioned this in one of my recent videos about how I believe DLC is going to be coming out in the next fiscal year to balance some of the waning interest in Armored Core. And that fiscal year does start on April 1st. But that's something that we're going to have to find out in the investors report, which should be coming out in a few weeks. And we also have whatever news they were talking about that should be coming out any day now. But one thing we can be certain of is that DLC is on the horizon, and hopefully shouldn't be too far away. But let me kind of go back through the main points of this video one more time just to get the facts straight, so that we don't get some misinformation here. Okay. As it stands right now, this is just a rumor. However, from the many sources that I reached out to and the investigation that I did, it seems like a very credible rumor at that. This does not...
I mean, they did it with Sekiro. I mean, no, Sekiro is the most recent game before Elden Ring. So it would go to make sense that they would also do it with Elden Ring.
And Elden Ring was their most successful game. I believe their most successful game thus far, so...
I think that's
not
fair.
Mean a boss rush is definitely coming out. It very well could have been scrapped, but it appears like it was being worked on at some point. We just haven't seen it yet. Anyways though guys, that's gonna pretty much do it for the video today. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you're new around here. And let me know if a boss rush is something you'd be excited for. Personally, I think it would be a great addition to the game. It would be a fantastic way to test new builds and practice for challenge runs and that kind of thing. So I really hope this turns out to be true, but we'll just have to wait and see. And with all that though guys, I will catch you in the next one.
The thing,
and I think if not, I mean, mods almost guaranteed are going to do something, so. But either way, I mean, I think DLC is almost a guarantee. Like, I really don't see a world where they don't do it. It would be really, really weird if they didn't.
Is also that people will always have boss rush modes if they are like serious players. So like the way that you would do it in Dark Souls 1 is that you would have to do like a file editor and then put the file in another folder and then copy it over to do a boss over and over again. It was like kind of annoying unless you had like another tool. So like serious players are going to create boss rush modes anyway. So I think that if Elden Ring added that, it would just make the game better. Yeah, because it auto... Yeah, exactly. So as soon as you got there, you had to take the file over. I did it a lot whenever I was preparing for the Deathless Dark Souls 1 run. I did it like 50 times to practice for Bed of Chaos, so I would know like exactly where to point the arrow and then throw the bomb to get through the fight, and I still fucked it up sometimes. And yeah. You can make the file read-only. Oh, I never tried that, actually. That's a good idea. Bed of casters require precise... Yeah, it's, like, super fucking precise. And not only is it precise, but, like, you have to execute them extremely fast. So, yeah, modders are already able to randomize bosses. Boss rush is not far, exactly. And I think that, again, it's like Dark Souls Cinders, for example, had a boss rush. Like, even if
exactly.
From
Like
Software
modders are going
doesn't
to do
a
it.
boss rush themselves, there will 100% be a boss rush that is created by the community. And one way or another, I'm excited to play it. There we go.
I'm surprised there's so much left of the video.
Let me link a video to you guys. We've watched a lot of these ZioStorm videos. I like them a lot. I think they're short, they're to the point, and it's somebody who actually makes content about Elden Ring that's like not just gameplay, like talking about the game, different commentary, and I'm really glad to see that. I like that a lot, and yeah, I think that's about it. So hit one side, quit out, reload, go the other. Got no time for the bullshit boss. Yeah, there you go. And Metroid Prime screen title. Yeah, I actually played Metroid Prime. I played the first one, but I never finished it. I got to the last boss, I couldn't figure it out, and I quit the game. I remember that.
Wow.
Favorite boss in Elden
That's funny. I really like Metroid Prime. It's one of my favorite games.
Ring. I don't know what my favorite boss is. I think it
Oh, I'm sorry.
could be Radahn or Godfrey. I think those are probably the two.
That like snuck up on me too.
It probably is Radahn. Because I think that Radahn is Malekith. Malekith is too easy. I think I think it's just such an easy fight. And also, like, the part of Malekith where it's actually challenging, it's like, what, like 10 hits? 5 hits? It's over? I don't know.
He doesn't have a lot of HP.
Radahn for theme alone. Yeah, it's like, I think the lead up, like, the Malekith reveal is probably the coolest reveal in the game. 100%. However, like, the Radahn, like, you know, the fucking, that, like, humming as you're walking up to the arena to fight him, and then, like, if you are a pussy, like McConnell, you would summon different NPCs to help you in the fight. Obviously, good players didn't need to do that, but there were some pussies that did that. Then, obviously, his moveset is really cool and interesting. The fact that you can fight him on horse or as a, you know, off the horse as well, like, either strategy works.
Yeah, I think in terms of, like, fan favorite, like, I think Radahn is, like, a lot of people's. Just because it's such an interesting fight. I guess it's difficult, but it doesn't feel, like, really cheap.
I think is super fucking badass. I also think that just the way that, you know, the meteor thing is probably the coolest moment in Elden Ring, I would say.
Yeah, definitely for transitioning into a new phase. Like, it's, like, top 3, I would say.
One of the coolest moments.
Yeah.
I think just, it's not even a question, Radahn is the coolest boss. Like, from a lore perspective, from a gameplay perspective, from a combat perspective, I think he's the best boss. Like, if I was going to look at Godfrey, I feel like Godfrey Phase 2, again, it ends too soon. Because Godfrey, I don't know if you guys know this, but he has less defenses. And he takes more damage in the second phase, which makes sense. He's not wearing his armor anymore. And it just makes the phase very easy. Also, he has a couple of different abilities that are extremely, like, super slow telegraph, super easy to avoid, like the grab thing that he does. And he just leaves himself open so much that usually by the time that you
if you know the fight, you can take him down extremely quickly.
And Mohg, I don't like Mohg. I think that Mohg is a fight that's built entirely around baiting you.
Yeah.
It's like the only thing that Mohg is good at is role catching players, which I think is kind of I find it to be kind of a cheap trick. And also, I don't really like the fact that you can just get the Wondrous Physique to just completely avoid the blood face. Mohg is an easy fight if you go to his palace late.
You just negate it.
Yeah, Mohg's theme is dope, though. Mohg looks really cool. The lore behind the character is really interesting. Like, yeah, 100%. And his weapon is fucking amazing. He has, like, one of the best lines in the game. But overall,
the fight itself,
I would say Radahn is the top fight.
Yeah, Mohg, the fight itself is, like, pretty forgettable with Mohg, so.
After that, I think in terms of aesthetic, I would say Godric is really cool. He reminded me a lot of like Ludwig in Bloodborne, except he's really easy. And let's see. Besides that, Rykard. I don't like Rykard. I think obviously Rykard is a really cool boss. Visually, Rykard is one of the best bosses in the game and could be the best boss in the game.
Super
but
unique,
the fight
unique
is
looking.
done through a gimmick, and I find that boring.
Exactly. Like he's kind of too hard without the weapon, and he's too easy with the weapon. It's just not a good way to do it.
Let's see.
And in fact, can you beat him without the weapon? I'm not sure. Like, I think I tried and just got wrecked. I'm like, okay, I'm just using the weapon.
Fire Giant. I don't like Fire Giant. Plasudiax. I don't know why people wipe to that boss. I think he's so easy. He is very cool. Yeah, I would say like visually Plasudiax is S tier for sure. Malenia, I think Malenia is like a B tier fight. It's my opinion. The only cool part is phase 2.
Yeah.
It's actually the most boring fight in the game. Movesets are repetitive, very binary dodge on the right click, on the right frame check. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. The bird boss, I don't like that one. I think Crucible Knights are some of the best NPCs. I feel like whenever From Software makes another version of Elden Ring, I think that we can almost guarantee that we will see Crucible Knights in the next version. In the same way that, like, you know, whenever the fucking, what's his name? The Tower Knight, I think that was his name in Demon Souls. Like we saw him in Dark Souls 1. I think it was in Dark Souls 3 or Dark Souls 2. He's in Dark Souls 3. And like that NPC was just used in the future many times. Black Knights as well. I think Black Knights, or the Crucible Knights will be the new Black Knights going forward. I can almost guarantee you're going to have an NPC that uses their moveset, because I think it's very good. Trying to reset schedule. I have to do a couple of things in the morning, and then we'll decide. Roll catching is the best way to design difficulty. That's how Nameless King was designed as well. I don't think Nameless King roll catches at all.
What are they called? Natural Born? Or the...
Yeah, I personally don't think so.
Like the Void bosses? Those are pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about... He does?
I mean, they're annoying to fight, but they're fun.
I did them a lot.
I thought they were cool.
Only if you fat roll? Yeah. I think Moog roll catches... Rykard roll catches with that one attack he does in phase 2 where he like slams the sword down at you and then it hits the ground, then he slides it. I think that is kind of a roll catch. Lawrence roll catches you with that three strike attack. I would say those are the roll catch NPCs. Anyway, I am going to I'm going to take a break. I'll be back on tomorrow. And again, guys, I have been on very late, very early. Just full disclosure, my dad's been sick. I've been helping him. Spending time with them, doing shit like that. Also, my schedule's gotten worse, and so I've been waking up later at night. It's been kind of weird. So that's what's been going on.
I don't think he announced anything like in terms of the severity, but from what kind of like the vibe I've been getting is that it's just a normal sickness. It's not like freaking he thinks they're going to pass away or anything like that.
I will be on
so that's good.
Probably, I don't know, within 15 hours again. Hopefully, that's what my plan is. Hope your dad gets better soon. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I do too.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's what's been going on. I'll probably be back on, and whenever I am, I will. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I might go back and try Valheim again if I can get my character back, and
get his character back.
Did he get else. I might do some stuff in WoW. I just haven't really decided yet. We'll figure it out. Thank you guys very much for watching. I really fucking appreciate it, and I'll see you all very soon. Peace.
Yeah, good video. I mean, unfortunately with these kind of videos, there's not much to talk about. It's just pure speculation. But it's also a case where it's like, it's a guarantee to come out one way or the other. Like either FromSoft will release it or a modder is going to do it. So better from FromSoft though, just because most people just don't get mods when it comes to games. Like they don't even bother with them. So